Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. My name is Sutton Def, a very cozy Sutton Def, and you are listening to Quiet Storm Sports, a Baltimore Ravens show. And today we're going to discuss a few keys to victory for the Ravens to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 18 of the 2025 NFL season and punch their ticket to the playoffs. I want you to leave down below in the comments, what do you think are the biggest keys to victory for the Ravens to winning this game? And also, do you think that Lamar Jackson will actually play this week? This and more on this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Yes, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be listening to this. I am your host, Sutton Def, and you are listening to the Purple Rain Podcast. And this is the Quiet Storm Sports Show, my daily show here where I cover the Ravens news, basically whatever's going on. Of course, we're in season right now, but guess what? The show is not going away in the offseason. As you guys know, we cover the Ravens here 365 days a year. So if that sounds good to you and you like more content just like this, make sure you go ahead and click that like button. Also subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. And if you could, maybe hit that notification bell too, because me personally, I kind of go live a little bit sporadically. With this show, it's pretty consistent around 3 p.m. Central Time. I'll do this show and then I'll hop on Ravens Roundup on Tuesdays, and Monday and Thursday is our show with me and Alex. But this show here, definitely make sure you turn the notifications on for this channel so you can make sure that you're in here for whenever we have a live stream. But today, guys, I want to talk about the Ravens' keys to victory. What do they need to do to get revenge against the Steelers, who they just lost to a couple of weeks ago, and that loss still stings, if I'm being honest with you. Very traumatizing loss. Out of all the losses this season, that would have to be like top 3 worst losses, I would say, mainly because it is the Steelers. But how can they bounce back this week, guys, with the entire season on the line? I mean, the stakes for this one are just absolutely through the roof. A lot of people aren't really realizing that next week could be it was going to be the end of the regular season anyway, but next week could be the last time we see Ravens football until August. And yes, I know that is a very sobering reality, but it's our reality. It's our truth, and we got to enjoy it every step of the way. But I want to speculate on how this Ravens team can win, and I have a couple of ideas that I want to share with you guys in this one. Before you get into it, I wanna pull up who's here in the live chat as we always do. I see I got my guy Mad Rasta in the chat. What's going on, man? Appreciate you for coming through. Mad Rasta says the Ravens always disappoint you when you need them. Yeah, I mean, not every time. Not every time in my experience, right? I've seen some very, very good times with this Ravens team, so I can't say that for in its totality. That's how this Ravens team operates, but lately, you are right. They have been very disappointing. So hopefully they can kind of pick it up this week and bounce back against the Steelers. Again, you're playing for not only your playoff hopes this week, but you're playing for pride, right? You weren't supposed to be here. Everybody counted you out. Your back was up against the wall multiple times this season. If there's not a chip on your shoulder, then hey, I don't know what to tell you at this point. And maybe the chip on the shoulder doesn't even really matter. You just got to go out there and win again for your pride, for your manhood, really. You know, would Ray Lewis lose this game? That's how you gotta. That's how you gotta think about it. That's how you gotta think about it. Jason from Huddle It Up Films. What's going on, man? I like the new profile picture. Says just stopping by to say hey, love you, bro. Go Ravens. Love you too, man. Hope you're doing well. Happy holidays to you. Let me see. Glaucoma says all they got to do is give 22 the ball. Yes, yes, and we're gonna get into number 22 and what I think needs to happen with his usage this weekend. But let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes, right, of this episode and what we really came in here to get and talk about. I want to start with this. I want to start with something that I said last night on the Purple Rain podcast. And I had posted the clip on social media this morning, and it got some backlash from some of the viewers who watched this show. Criticized me for saying that I think that Lamar Jackson should take notes from the performance that Tyler Huntley just put on display last week. Um, and the reason why I said that was not because I think that Tyler Huntley is a better football player, a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. It's not because I think that Tyler Huntley should definitely start this week over Lamar Jackson. No, it's not that. It has nothing to do with that. I was simply saying that Lamar Jackson should take note of how Tyler Huntley ran the offense, because it's clear and obvious that that is the most efficient way that this offense is supposed to be ran, right? Getting the ball out quick and running the football is what this entire offense should be, predicated on. I love Lamar Jackson. I love the fact that he loves the big playability. I mean, he loves the big play. He loves the home run. Him and Todd Monken, they chased the home run. They hit a whole bunch of them last year. So I would fully expect them to come into this year trying to replicate some of that success. But in order to have home run success on offense, like, again, Lamar and Monken want to have one of two things. Ideally both, but you got to have at least one of these two things. Number one, you have to have a good offensive line. As you guys might agree with me, this offensive line has been less than average, well below average this season, especially in pass protection. So you either need a good offensive line, which we don't have, or you need a healthy Lamar with a pretty much clean bill of health. Because even if the offensive line is bad, he can still manipulate the pocket, extend the plays and go down the field, push the ball down the field. We've seen him do that time and time again. Problem is, right now, we don't have either one of those things. We don't have a healthy Lamar. We don't have a good offensive line. So how do you remedy that? You get the ball out quick so the offensive line can't lose, right? That's what you got to do. And you got to run the football. 30 plus carries for Henry. Get the ball out quick. Stay ahead of the sticks. Stay ahead of the sticks. That's what it boils down to. We do have a super chat donation in the house. This one's coming from Mad Rosta. Appreciate you, brother, dropping the 5-piece in the chat. Mad Rosta says, can we talk about where Lamar getting traded to? He leaves, so am I. That article was leaked by the front office. Lamar has been bad this year. I don't think Lamar is going to get traded. I will say this. I think that Lamar could definitely play some hardball this offseason when it comes to his contract negotiations. He's not going to be taking any less than what he feels he deserves. And as we know, in contract negotiations, both parties kind of have to give up a little bit of what they originally wanted in order to come to an agreement and meet in the middle, sort of. I think that Lamar Jackson, with him not having an agent, it's just him and his mom, and of course, probably some lawyer consultant, whatever. But he's the one actually doing the negotiations in real time. I think he's just not going to be budging, right? And that might sour the relationship between Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and lead to him actually requesting a trade, because that's the only way he can be traded, because he has a full no trade clause in his contract, right? So, and honestly, if we go back in time, back to when Lamar Jackson infamously tweeted, right, when he said, yeah, the Ravens organization, they are not interested in meeting my value, so I'm officially requesting a trade. Players don't tweet stuff like that out into the public, especially private guys who claim to be private, like Lamar Jackson. They don't tweet stuff like that out to the public unless they've been emotionally charged to do so. I think, and this is pure speculation from me, but this is just based off of what I know, I think Lamar was negotiating his last contract. The Ravens told Lamar and his mom to his face, hey, look, like, we don't want to pay you X, Y, and Z because of A, B, and C. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably what happened. Lamar Jackson probably felt very slighted and said, you know what? Cool. Y'all want to act like that? I'm going to go online and I'm going to tweet I'm going to tweet the world how I feel. And then we'll see how y'all move. It was a very strategic move by Lamar Jackson, but again, it's a move that you don't really see Lamar Jackson making. Like, that's the only time we've ever seen that really happen. Lamar Jackson is normally very reserved, very private, again. So I say all that to say, Mad Rosta, I don't know what team he could get traded to. Maybe it is Miami. Maybe it is Vegas. I don't know. Even though Vegas has the number one overall pick, I suspect them to probably get that Mendoza kid. But maybe it's Miami. I don't know. But if the Ravens are smart, they need to go ahead and lock him down as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Just give him what he wants, right? Reset the market, kick the can down the road with the salary cap for a few more years, because it's either that or you literally start all over and you're still going to be in cap hell. So I'm saying you literally start all over and trade Lamar and you're still in cap hell. So it is what it is, right? But I wanted to start with that. It's funny. I actually had a whole entire video recapping what I said last night. Since I already covered that, I don't want to play that anymore. I'm going to pull this up on screen, and then we're going to listen to a former Steeler talk about out of all the quarterbacks, he got the ball out Lamar Jackson quickest out of any quarterback in the league, right? Only. All right, and here we go.
Please let Lamar play. I hope Lamar comes back, bro, because I would rather see Lamar Jackson right now than Huntley, because Huntley can get a gear right now that Lamar Jackson can't get to or is afraid to get to because he's going to pull something. And I also think that with Lamar in there, we're going to have a better chance of winning, simply because the Ravens, I feel, would be stupid enough not to give Derrick Henry the ball 35 to 40 times. And we won't have DK because he's the person that killed them last time. Huntley, he got gears. Lamar ain't pulling his gears right now, dude. He too worried about that leg, the hammy.
The Steelers, I'm like, you are still fighting for the division. Why do you always have to make it into something harder? We just go out there, play a good game, win the game. We can chill, we can rest, we can try to get TJ right.
I would highly doubt on seeing TJ for this game. I've just read about when you have to have surgery to have your lung reinflated. That's your lung, bro. You know how you out there, you running, you tired, and you get that blood taste in your mouth from you going so hard. He can't do that.
Interesting stuff there. So that was James Harrison and Joe Hayden, former Steeler and former Brown, who have their own podcast here underneath the Shannon Sharp Network. And James Harrison was basically saying there, hey, look, man, I hope Lamar plays. I hope it's not Huntley, because Lamar doesn't have that extra gear, running with his mobility that's going to make him as much of a threat as Tyler Huntley right now. Whereas, I see I see James Harrison's point here, but I raise him this one. Even Tyler Huntley running at 100%, when he's 100% healthy, he still doesn't look very fast. You know what I mean? Now, what I will say is that he does pull the trigger a little bit quicker than Lamar Jackson in terms of getting upfield, turning upfield. And maybe that's the gear he's talking about, which I would understand. But in terms of speed, like right now, if Lamar Jackson was in a foot race with Tyler Huntley right now, I think Lamar would still win. Let me put it like that. I just think it's that quick twitch ability, which is kind of like the gear shifting thing that he's talking about here, where I do kind of understand the point that he's making. But honestly, I think they're screwed either way. I think that the Ravens had a revelation that they should have had since week 1, that, hey, look, we're just going to feed Derrick Henry. And, it now, and especially now, it's the cold weather months. The season is wearing on guys. And Derrick Henry has had a 100-yard game, 4 games in a row now. So, yeah, he might as well be our damn quarterback. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And it's going to be like, hey, you got to stop it over and over and over and over again. 30 carries. If Lamar Jackson plays, Todd Monk, and I hope you're listening, This is a key to victory. Don't get googly-eyed because you see number 8 on the field again. Still give it to 22. And I promise you, what happens if you keep giving it to Derrick Henry. Eventually, you're going to see that vintage Lamar. You're going to see it. But the vintage Lamar needs to be predicated off of a Derrick Henry base and not the other way around. We can't set up Derrick Henry by using Lamar. We need to set up Lamar, by using Derrick Henry. Okay. Again, guys, I'm still a little bit under the weather. Give me some grace here. All right. So, and then he also mentioned another interesting thing. He said that TJ Watt is probably not going to play in this one. Meanwhile, Mike Tomlin said earlier today that he is optimistic, quote unquote, that TJ Watt will be available against the Baltimore Ravens. But then when you listen to what Debo says here, like, you kind of agree. It's like, no, that's his lung. Like, we're not talking about an ankle. We're not talking about, a shoulder, or we're not talking about an abdomen. We're talking about your lung. Right? Like, you just can't operate. Nothing else will function if you can't breathe correctly. Especially in an intense sport. I mean, it's going to be cold outside. You're going to be playing down after down. Roger Rosengarten is going to be jabbing you in your chest all night long. I don't think TJ Watt should play for his future. Like, literally for his future. He shouldn't play. He shouldn't play. Don't forget to join the Rain Gang. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, we'd appreciate that. Let's go ahead and get into a little slight matchup preview. Again, still talking about our keys to victory. If you're watching in the chat, make sure you leave some keys to victory for this one. Want to take a look at some of the lineups, right? Let's take a look at some of the lineups here. Now, as a matter of fact, let's take a look at this first. Check this out. So if you look here, the Steelers, and for those of the audio listeners, I'll go through this as well. The Steelers are number 1 versus pressure. The Steelers offense is number 1 throwing the football versus pressure. Meanwhile, the Ravens defense is 29th at pressure rate. What does this mean? Well, much like I predicted in the first matchup between these two teams, I was afraid that quarterback number 8, Aaron Rodgers, would have absolutely all day to throw. And that's exactly what happened. He sat back there, he ate his lunch, right? Meal prepped some for later, called his girlfriend, went on a darkness retreat, had some ayahuasca, came back, and threw it deep to DK Metcalf. And that was over and over and over again. I think they hit at least 4 passes down the field of 20-plus yards. And before that, they hadn't done that for the past month. They hadn't thrown 1 passing play down the field of 20-plus yards in a month before they played us in that last game. And they hit 4 on us. And that was in large part due to because Aaron Rodgers had all day to throw. Now, the difference in this game is that you're not going to get DK Metcalf. He's still suspended. So what you're looking at here is 11 personnel for the Steelers. So in their obvious passing downs, they're going to have one back, one tight end on the field, which means 3 wide receivers. And if you look at the names you see here, you've got Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You've got Adam Thielen, or the ghost of Adam Thielen. And then you've got Scotty Miller. As we saw last week when the Steelers took on the Browns, Aaron Rodgers did not know where to go with the football. He didn't trust anybody, none of his receivers. And let's just take a look, because this is Pro Football Focus that we're looking at here. Let's just take a look at the rankings of these receivers. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Ranked dead last in the league for wide receivers. Dead last. 133 out of 133. Insane. Let's take a look at another one. Exhibit B. Ooh, Adam Thielen. Ranked 130th out of 133. Go figure. Let's take a look at Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller. Well, they don't have his ranking on here. It just says A. But he's ranked higher than both of these other guys. So you got a bunch of washed receivers on the roster that Aaron Rodgers has to throw to. No juice. Again, no DK Metcalf, no Calvin Austin, no Darnell Washington. About the only thing that the Ravens will really have to worry about, I think, are the tight ends. Pat Freiermuth might be a little bit of an issue, especially if Roquan can't cover him over the middle, because I expect Hamilton to be playing around the box. He'll have some times where he's out on Freiermuth or Jonnu Smith, but I do expect Kyle Hamilton to try to alleviate some of that pass rush that's just so lacking and has been all season for this Ravens team. They're going to send Kyle Hamilton after Aaron Rodgers multiple times in this game, simply because nobody else can consistently get home. By the way, Kyle Hamilton, if you watch him just rush the passer sometimes, you guys do that? You watch Hamilton rush the passer? It is very, very fun to see like some of the pass rush moves that he's put together. You can tell he's working with somebody. I don't know if it's Chuck Smith, aka Dr. Rush, or who it is, but he's got some good pass rush moves. It's legitimately, if he bulked up, put on like 20 extra pounds, whatever, he could be a legit edge rusher. I'm just saying. This is just me kind of, I don't want to say fantasizing, but like, yeah, when I watched Kyle Hamilton rush the passer, he's got some moves that were like, okay, if he was a little bit bigger, he would be getting home against some of the best tackles in the league consistently. Just saying. Let me check out the chat here. What up, chat? Let me see who's in here. We got Mike. What's going on, Mike? Appreciate you for coming through. Void in the house as well. Slicer in here. Miss Fancy Pants. What's up? Shelly. See my guy Don. Afternoon to all of you guys and ladies. Void says you got to watch out for Gainwell and Warren. This is true. However, I do think that this Ravens defense has done a pretty good job at stopping the run. Let's actually take a look at that. Let's bounce over to that and see where we stack up as of right now against the Steelers. Now, of course, disclaimer, these are stats from NFL Pro, aka Next Gen Stats. And, as I always say, with these divisional games, a lot of the times you can just throw these stats right out the window, right? They don't really matter because these teams play each other totally different than they play any other team in the league. because they just know each other so well. But for what it's worth, if we take a look at the Steelers' rushing offense versus the Ravens' rushing defense, shotgun runs. Let me see where the Steelers excel here. So rushing inside the tackles, Steelers rank number 4 in the league at, and the Ravens rank number 21 in the league at defending rushes between the tackles. What does this mean? This means that the likes of Travis Jones, who's been a monster, even since his contract extension, unlike somebody else who got a contract extension, he's been a monster. He's going to be shutting down the run. Well, he needs to shut down the run. And John Jenkins in the middle of that defense needs to help shut down the run as well. So when you talk about Warren and Gainwell, I think my guy was saying, let's see. Let's share this again. Yeah. Jenkins up front and Jones up front are definitely going to be key pieces in this one. And I think that the Steelers will primarily be trying to rush off of the right side of their offensive line, as their right guard and right tackle combo is better than their left tackle and left guard combo. I'd have to look up some exact stats on which side they prefer to rush, but according to PFF here, which again, you can take that with a grain of salt, their best option would be rushing to the right with one of those guys. So this is going to be a big game for the likes of Roquan Smith. Again, cold out there. He's going to have to fill those gaps because, you know, while the Ravens do have I'd say a decent at best front, you know, they heavily rely on their linebackers plugging those gaps. Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, the big nickel. Shoot, even Alohi Gilman comes down a lot of the time and is getting guys around the line of scrimmage. You're going to have to tackle. I said this last time. You got to run through these guys. You got to run. When you tackle these guys, you got to run through them. Don't be bouncing off of them. I've seen guys like Marlon Humphrey bouncing off of guys. Nate Wiggins, who, of course, we know he's not physical at all, so we can't really expect him to do too much. Alohi Gilman, though, bouncing off of guys. Make the damn tackle. Make the damn tackle. The last thing we need to see is Jaylen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell, you know, getting 2-3 yards after contact, 4 yards after contact. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Run through your tackles. Be physical from start to finish. 4 quarters. Violence. Let them know they're not going to establish a run game against us. If you're going to beat us, again, it's going to be with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, again, ranked the dead last wide receiver in the league, according to PFF. It's going to be Adam Thielen, again, ranked the third worst wide receiver in the league. And it's going to be Scotty Miller. Okay? It's going to be one of those guys who beat us. Has to be. Has to be. Antoine Knox says, hey, Sutton, whatever happened to Peebles? Are you talking about Aeneas Peebles? I guess you're talking about Aeneas Peebles. Yeah, I mean, the Ravens, they don't think that he can stop the run. They only look at him as like a decent interior pass rusher. And since he's not multiple in that way, they don't play him. A lot of times he's a healthy scratch. You know, you see more Okoye, CJ Okoye. Let me see what else you guys are saying here. Mike says going for the hit stick with the shoulder instead of wrapping up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Wrap up and just drive through these guys. You know what I mean? Push them backwards. Gang tackle. You guys remember, I'm old enough to remember when the Ravens used to be bullies. They used to rally tackle worse than anybody else in the league. You know, it's just a mentality thing. It's a mentality thing. That's all it is. But I know there will be some missed tackles in this one. Some guys not being physical enough. It's going to happen. It happens with this Ravens defense. It happens. Let me see. Miss Fancy Pants in the chat says they owe us one good game. It's only right it occurs on the final game of the season for all the marbles. Well, yeah. Last year, you know, they beat us in the first matchup. and then we beat them at the very end of the season, and then we beat them again in the playoffs. So maybe it's the same kind of story this year. Of course, if we beat them on Sunday, we won't be playing them in the playoffs because they'll be eliminated. But yeah, they owe us one. We owe ourselves one. Forget them owing us anything. They don't owe us nothing. We owe it to ourselves. I'm going to say it like that. Because it's been a rough season, hasn't it? It's been a rough season. Yes, I missed the gang tackle back in the day. The defense swarmed to the ball. I knew I wasn't the only one, man. Knew I wasn't the only one. Glaucoma says, I think TJ Tampa should get some snaps. Marlowe is starting to annoy me. Yeah, his age is really starting to show. And I think the only thing that keeps him so like confident and hopping on IG Live right after games is the fact that he's getting these interceptions. And shout out to him. Kudos to him for being in the right place at the right time and coming up with those picks. But that does not excuse you getting burned and again, giving guys free releases to get outside leverage on you. And you look helpless, right? Running down the sideline. It's not good. Not good. And that didn't used to happen. That didn't used to be a Marlon Humphrey thing. But he's lost a step. He's lost a step. But how can you really blame him? He's been here. I think he's what? The second longest tenured Raven on this roster. So, is what it is, I guess. Is what it is. Again, guys, if you're new here, don't forget to join the hashtag Rain Gang. Like the video, subscribe. Appreciate that. All right. So let's take another look here. Let's keep looking here at what we see, what stands out to us in our keys to victory for this game. So we looked at the rushing. When we look at the Steelers defense, the Steelers rushing defense, you see the Ravens have the advantage in pretty much every category. Rushing versus a stacked box, overall rushing efficiency, design runs, rushing outside the tackles, rushing shotgun, rushing inside the tackles, under center, QB scrambles, light box runs, running in the red zone. What does this mean, right? What the heck does all this mean, Sutton? Well, let's take a look. Because I know I just read all that out for you. I'm just telling you. Just telling you. As a matter of fact, I'll show you guys really quick. Nope. Screen went away. Hang on. Bear with me. All right, there we go. So, Ravens rushing offense versus the Steelers rushing defense. It's on the left-hand side of the screen here, guys. As you guys can see, the Ravens have the advantage in every single category. Right? The Steelers' run defense is there to be had. It's there to be beat. Let's take a look at some of our matchups here. Let's take a look. Go back over here to PFF, and we will put the Steelers on defense. We'll put them in their nickel defense, and we'll go in our 3 wide receiver set here. So match coverage. What I'm looking at here, and this is an obvious passing downs. The main thing that I'm looking for, whether it be Lamar Jackson, whether it be Tyler Huntley, or whether it be me out there, right? I just want to see Derrick Henry in the backfield as a threat. Even if we're not going to use him, even keep him back there as a threat. Because the effect that has on the linebackers is going to impact the flow of the defense. The entire flow of the defense is going to open up opportunities to actually throw the ball. Now, that's throwing the football. Let's move it backwards a little bit. Let's put the Steelers in their base. And let's go 12 personnel. 2 tight ends for us. Right here. So this is going to come down to, because I think Harrison and Queen, as the game goes on, if those guys are not kept clean, right, and we got blockers, guys getting up to the second level, it's going to be a very long day. A very long day for the Steelers defense. And this is where I would like to see the Ravens run a lot of that outside zone that they were running, last week, and getting guys on the move. Linderbaum was doing pretty good in some of those plays. Falele did pretty well on some of those zone plays. Rosengarten as well. The entire offensive line had their ups last week. I want to see some of those zone plays where you see guys, the entire line moving left at the same time here, and Derrick Henry kind of following behind him and picking that hole, right? And so he can cut it up and get 4 to 5 yards. If Henry is averaging 5 yards a carry in this one, Steelers are done. Steelers are done. They're done. Highsmith, he's really talented. Of course, TJ Watt probably not going to play in this one. Is Derek Harmon healthy? I thought he was hurt a couple weeks ago. Let me see. Derek Harmon injury. Here's your sprain. Let me see. Let's go past week. Can't find anything on him. I guess he's back. I don't know. Not sure. Either way, I think that, this game is really going to come down to this offensive line. And if they can repeat the performance that they had last week, it wasn't perfect. Trust me, it wasn't perfect. I went back and watched a lot of the all 22 footage. I think I watched actually all 36 Derrick Henry runs. What was it? Yesterday. And it wasn't perfect. They did a good job overall. But there were still some, some flaws in there, which you got to expect. The guys on the other side get paid too. It's not going to be full domination all game from our offensive line. Can't expect that. But I do expect some degree of consistency. And that's what this Ravens team is going to need. And again, mixing in Keaton Mitchell as well, that's going to be big in this one. But at the same time, Henry has got to be the one who we throw at them. You just got to throw the hammer. You got to throw that haymaker over and over and over again and make them defend it. Because eventually the dam breaks, as we've seen with all teams that we've played in December. Again, Derrick Henry does not have a game in December underneath 100 yards rushing. That's 4 straight games. So, again, like I said, if Queen and Harrison, wait, I gotta look at the I-word report. Let me see if I can find that. People on Twitter are funny. Steelers injury reports. Ravens haven't even reported on anything today so far. It's actually kind of crazy. They're probably going to report as soon as we go live for Ravens Roundup. I think they did that last week too. All right, let me see. Steelers. I got to know. I need to know, man. I think it's actually on here too. Let me see. Score. No. Okay. Okay, so Malik Harrison is probably going to play. Tomlin said he's optimistic about the following players: Malik Harrison, Isaac Somalo, James Pierre, Eccles, Calvin Austin, and TJ Watt. And of course, Darnell Washington is out, having surgery on that broken arm. If Harrison can't go, that would be interesting. Harrison, if I remember correctly, was a much better run stopper than anything. Kind of big body guy. But if he can't go, he can't help stop Derrick Henry, and it's just Patrick Queen back there. Again, all respects to Patrick Queen, friend of the show. But I don't know. It could get rough. Again, if those linebackers can't be kept clean. Just saying. PQ is about to be in the last year of his contract. I believe so. And a lot of Steelers Excuse me. A lot of Steelers fans want him gone. Me personally, I wouldn't mind having him back. I would not mind having him back at all. The King of Crank brings up a good point here. It says, hopefully, Monken keeps it simple. Seems like he overthinks it too much. Run the ball and continue the quick passes. I agree. And that's why, I think people were saying, like not Debo Samuel, James Harrison, a.k.a. Debo, he was saying like he's more afraid of Tyler Huntley than Lamar Jackson. And he was saying because, Lamar Jackson can't really be Lamar right now because of the injuries. So I'd rather prefer him out there who's going to be hesitant as opposed to a Tyler Huntley who clearly is capable of running that offense efficiently and how it should be run. And when I say should be, I mean like traditionally, right? Run the football downs first and second down, and then on third down if you have to throw it. There are even a couple third downs, 3rd and 5. I remember not the Steelers, but the Ravens ran the ball with Derrick Henry, and they picked it up. So just one of those things. Definitely don't want to overthink it. I think, they didn't overthink it with Huntley because they don't have to. Again, when Lamar Jackson is back there, it's like, well, we kind of want to let Lamar be Lamar. So let's call this, on 1st and 10 or on 2nd and 4 or whatever. We're going to call a play action and try to get Zay Flowers open down the field, knowing damn well that this offensive line can't block long enough to let that route develop, Like, don't overthink it. Just give Henry the ball. And we can play action off of that once he starts busting their ass. Period. That's all it is. But okay, guys, I am going to wrap up this stream as I am getting ready to go on live less than an hour with the Ravens Roundup. Just wanted to hop on here really quick. Of course, I will do a full preview with Alex on Thursday. I believe we're going to go Thursday, which is New Year's Day. We talked about that last night after the show. We went offline. Yeah, we're probably going to go live on Thursday. But if anything changes, we'll let you know about when we're going to put out our full preview for that game. Of course, our NFL Week 18 preview will be on that as well with our Purple Rain parlays and our picks segment. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And everybody, please, please, please like the video. With that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I will see you guys later on today and around in these YouTube streets. Stay positive, test negative, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God.